My disabled daughter was fired from a meat plant, but she never worked there. The letter that changed everything. I got a letter from Social Security saying my daughter had violated the terms of her disability benefits because she'd started working at a meat processing plant in Nebraska. At that moment, I was changing her diaper. My name is Laura. I'm 46. My daughter, Emily, is 22. She's been severely disabled since birth. She can't walk, can't speak, and can't feed herself. I've been caring for her every day of her life. We live modestly on federal aid. It's not much, but it's enough to cover Emily's medical supplies, her special food, and the part-time aide who helps me 3 days a week so I can run errands or simply catch my breath. Then came the letter from the SSA. It said Emily had started a job at Glenfield Processing in another state, which meant she no longer qualified for disability assistance. I read it 5 times, checking every detail, hoping I'd misunderstood something. Then I just broke down. Fighting the system. The next few weeks became a nightmare of phone calls and bureaucratic dead ends. SSA, IRS, always the same robotic response. We have employment activity on file. If it's incorrect, please provide proof. Proof of what? That my daughter can't move? That she's never been to Nebraska? That she needs help eating every single meal? Her benefits were frozen during the review period. We were suddenly living on nothing. I sold some jewelry, canceled Emily's aid, and started rationing her expensive formula. The stress was overwhelming. Not just the financial pressure, but watching Emily's routine disrupted, seeing her confusion when her aid stopped coming. I cried myself to sleep more nights than I can count, terrified that this nightmare would never end. Digging for truth. That fear drove me to start investigating on my own. I began Googling Glenfield Processing, combing through job listings and company Facebook pages. Eventually, I found a forum where ex-workers shared horror stories about the place. Low wages, long hours, fake IDs, and a casual attitude toward documentation. The pieces started falling into place. Desperate for answers, I left a comment under a fake name. Has anyone worked there in 2021 to 2023? I'm dealing with something awful. Did anyone ever get hired using someone else's documents? 3 people messaged me the next day, and their responses confirmed my worst fears. One said, "You show up for the interview and they give you a number and a name. They say you lost your docs. You just memorize the info and that's it." Another, "They don't keep copies. Just type it into the system. Everyone knows it's fake." And a third added, "The hiring manager, Joe, he brings printed SSNs from his office, hands them out. He says, as long as you show up on time, I don't care." They all asked me not to use their names, but they told me the same thing. If you want to know how it works, apply for a job yourself. See what happens. Going undercover. I was terrified this whole ordeal would drag on for months, maybe years. What if it went to court? What if they demanded we sue? What if I had to prove Emily's entire life to strangers just to get her name back? The thought of being trapped in endless hearings, of watching Emily suffer while bureaucrats shuffled papers, was unbearable. That fear of being powerless while my daughter's identity was stolen finally pushed me from reading forums to taking real action. I decided I needed undeniable facts. If no one else was going to protect my daughter's name, I would. I left Emily with our sitter for 2 days, prepared her meals in advance, wrote detailed care instructions, and recorded a video explaining her routine. Then I drove the 8 hours to Nebraska, my hands shaking on the steering wheel. The factory looked exactly like every nightmare I'd imagined. Gray concrete, deafening machinery, exhausted people in worn coats waiting by a back door. I walked in and told them I was Martha from Oklahoma. I didn't have documents, but I needed work. A man in his late 50s with a sweat-stained shirt and coffee breath smiled at me. This was Joe. "We can make it work," he said casually, as if offering someone a fake identity was as routine as asking about the weather. You don't need papers, just show up on time. Here's your ID info. He handed me a sheet with a complete identity, full name, address, and a social security number that belonged to someone real, someone whose life he was carelessly destroying. Learn it by tomorrow. We'll run it through. You start on Monday. I said I'd think about it, took the paper, and walked away, my heart pounding. That night in my motel room, I carefully documented everything. Emails, screenshots, that damning piece of paper, and a quiet audio recording of Joe saying, "You don't need papers." Then I filed 3 formal complaints, to the SSA, to the Department of Labor, and to the local police department in Nebraska. I didn't expect much, but I had to try. A chance for justice. 2 weeks later, everything changed. "Mrs. Taylor, this is Investigator Pearson from Dodge County," the voice on the phone said. "We've opened a criminal investigation into fraudulent employment practices and the use of stolen identities. Based on your submission, you'll be listed as a formal witness. If charges are filed, we may need you to testify." I thanked him, then sat in silence for a long time, feeling something I hadn't felt in months: hope. It took another month, but Emily's benefits were finally restored. The SSA acknowledged the identity theft and cleared her record. We got back pay for the frozen period, and I was able to rehire her aide. More importantly, Emily got her routine back, her familiar face helping her with meals and exercises. The criminal case is still pending. I don't know if Joe will face real consequences or if the factory will change its practices. But now his name is in a file, part of an official investigation. My daughter's name is no longer being stolen, and other families won't have to fight this battle alone. And if another mother finds herself fighting this same battle, maybe my voice will already be in the system, quiet but documented, saying, "This isn't just a clerical error, it's theft, and we're done staying quiet."